We are talking tonight about the social dilemma, and beyond just the title of the film that we were able to screen in this past week, we want to talk about your children. And our topic this month, as we've been messaging to all of you, has been on self-worth and understanding the worth ultimately that comes through knowing that we are all children of God and made in his God's image. And in understanding that, we know that each of us inherently has worth and value and significance. And that's an important message that we want to express to you, parents, as we tackle tonight this topic of the social dilemma and our children's relationship with technology and inherently our own relationship with technology. And we're so glad that you're able to join us tonight. I am joined by Tiffany Prail, or Ms. Prail as she's known by, with our students. She is our design, innovation, and technology coordinator. She's been a great support to us as a school to be able to understand more about how our kids are engaging with technology, what the school can do in order to set up best practice with our students, and also work with our teachers in understanding how best to leverage that technology in their classrooms. We also here have Kyle Johnson. He is an incoming parent to Westport Lutheran. His daughter Astrid will be joining kindergarten in the fall. He is also currently a Westport Lutheran Church member and a research scientist in AI working at TikTok. So I'll let him unpack that a little bit more himself. I am going to begin us tonight with a word of prayer as we discuss together. And we do want to make it as interactive as possible. That's why we created this as a Zoom session. So as we are speaking tonight, you can feel free to drop questions in the chat as we go along, and we'll address them either at certain points or along the way. So let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you that you are a God who inherently sees and knows all. Lord, it can be difficult or sometimes alarming to think of how much is known of ourselves on these various digital platforms that we may be on or our children may be on. Lord, give us wisdom in how we best navigate this technology for our kids and also for ourselves. And as we think about how that affects and shapes how we behave and how we think, we just pray that the strongest influence that would be truth to us would be through your word, and certainly through parents and teachers and other friends who care and support them. And we just ask that we would see our vision through to be able to see our kids transformed and confident in who they are in their God-given design, and able then to navigate what's before them as far as technology with great wisdom. So bless us tonight, and may it be a great time of learning for all of us. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. So we will be sharing with you, parents, tonight a slide deck. And in case you're not catching all the information as we are talking, we will share that same slide deck with you following this session. So don't worry about missing anything. And the session is being recorded. So if you know other parents who aren't able to join us tonight, we'll also be sharing with them as well. So I'm going to have Tiffany, if you can go ahead and share the slides. So we wanted to start first tonight by just recalling here at Westport Lutheran what our mission and our vision is. In our mission, that's what we do as a school. We want to address students as a whole in their faith and character development, social emotional growth, and academic excellence, all in a Christ-centered environment. And the technology that we engage with, bridges all those different areas. So it's important that we talk through that and what that looks like for us as a school. We also want our kids ultimately as they graduate, and we just heard back from our eighth graders did as far as the high schools that they'll be going on to next. So as they graduate from Westport Lutheran, we want to see them transformed by the gospel and confident in who they are to live purposeful lives of learning, service, and leadership. And so we want them to go out into the community and beyond to be able to do these things. And as we think tonight about how technology might be shaping all of that, we understand that some things can press up against us. So when we have this discussion about how the social dilemma is affecting each of us, we also want to understand what our learning outcomes are, school-wide learning outcomes are SLOs. So our SLOs as a school, there are 5 Cs. We do want our students to be Christ followers, creative and critical thinkers. We want them to collaborate, communicate, and be caring citizens. And I can just tell you from my perspective as a principal and as an educator that there are so many things that our kids are engaging with online and in their exposure to technology that can definitely facilitate these SLOs, but also can come against them as well. So hopefully tonight we'll get to talk about what those are in more detail. So tonight I'm just going to pass it over to Tiffany here, and she'll talk about a little bit more. That was my little spiel to introduce everything.
All right, good evening, parents. This evening, what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick overview of the themes from the film. We're hoping everyone had a chance to watch the film. There definitely was a lot of stuff to unpack from that film. So share some of the themes from the film. Kyle will be touching upon some social media and mental health components. We are excited to go over the school digital safety and some of the efforts that we've been putting forward. And we're going to wrap up with different ways that we can help support you as parents moving forward with all of the different technologies that are out there. So going with the themes from the film, there was definitely the theme of addiction and attention. We had some student interactions yesterday where we went over those things. Data privacy and surveillance, the impact on mental health, spread of misinformation and fake news, social polarization and echo chambers, manipulation and persuasion, and the tech industry responsibility and ethics. So we'll dive in a little bit more to that, but I would like to pass it on to Kyle.
I can't. Can people hear me okay? Okay, thank you all. A real pleasure to be here. I'm going to run through this really quickly. I don't want to talk for more than 10 minutes. So I'll just jump right into it and happy to answer questions as we wrap up or at any time. So yeah, my name is Kyle Johnson. I'm a research scientist at TikTok. And I'm not a social media user, but two things brought me here tonight. One is I've been a long time kind of follower of the work of Jonathan Haidt, a sociology professor at NYU, and just interested. I think his work is fascinating. And I'm at TikTok, and I'm a parent of, soon to be parent at West Portal, and I heard about this, so I volunteered to contribute a few insights, perhaps from both. Mostly, I wanted to summarize the work of Jonathan Haidt regarding the effect of social media on the mental health, especially of teen girls, but teens in general. And so Jonathan Haidt's work really focuses in two areas. One of increased political polarization, especially you've seen this in the past 8 years in the country at large. And also maybe related is the decreased resilience of teenagers and young adults, specifically his students that he sees at NYU, being sort of less and less mature and able to handle the burdens of and stresses of adult life. So his work on social media and his insights into the deleterious effects on teen girls comes out of this second half. So you can, next slide, please. So just to summarize his work really briefly, and again, I'm not, just to make it clear, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not the parent of a teen. So I'm summarizing Haidt's work, I hope faithfully, I believe faithfully. These are not my own unique insights. So first off, it's a documented fact that teen girls' mental health has began declining in 2012. Many have observed that this corresponds to the introduction of social media and smartphones, specifically social media on smartphones with unlimited data plan and fast data service. And Haidt's research proves, I believe it proves demonstrably that this is not a correlation. That's fact, one causes the other. Social media on these phones is causing the mental illness crisis of especially young girls. So next slide. So I'll read this really quickly. We are now 11 years, and this is Haidt in his own words. We are now 11 years into the largest epidemic of teen mental illness on record. As the CDC's recent report showed, most girls are suffering, and nearly a third have seriously considered suicide. Why is this happening, and why did it start so suddenly in 2012? Next slide, please. To kind of give the game away, this is a summary of everything he has to say. There is one giant, obvious international and gendered cause: social media. Instagram was founded in 2010. The iPhone 4 was released then too, the first smartphone with a front-facing camera. By 2015, it was becoming normal for girls 12 to 13 years old, 12-year-old girls to spend hours a day taking selfies, editing selfies, and posting them for friends, enemies, and strangers to comment on, while also spending hours each day scrolling through photos of other girls and fabulously wealthy teenage celebrities with seemingly vastly superior bodies and lives. Next slide, please. These are some of these really dark slides, dark statistics. It's really disturbing stuff. I'm sure as much to you all as it is to me. And some of these are difficult to read quickly. You'll have this deck to review some of this work, and I have links to all of Haidt's work as well later on in the doc. So essentially, you can read it yourself. This is really serious, very serious. These are very serious indications and behaviors indicative of, to put it mildly, poor mental health. And there is a dramatic and well-documented increase of this. Next slide. I'll skip over this, but this is more bad stuff. And then just look at the green, look at the yellow arrow. It moves upwards. The boys in the blue stay about parallel, about constant. He has some speculations about why this is, but next slide, I'll have one word to say about boys and after this. So it's this thing. It's the front-facing camera. It's looking at yourself. It's posting pictures of yourself. It's looking at other people, other women, other girls, comments made by who knows, and doing this over and over and over. There's a very seemingly a very terrible psychological effect that's happening. Next slide, please. This is just one of these pieces of evidence that this correlation corresponds to really two things. One is the hours of day that one spends on it, the number of one's friends and peers who are on these social networks, and then also the age at which this one began looking at this, using these social networks. TikTok and Instagram, Snapchat are probably the big three. Instagram and TikTok obviously being the big two right now. Go forward one next. So I'll leave you to look at this in your own time. It's more bad stuff and it's moving in the wrong direction. Next slide. What about the boys? Just curiously, it does not affect boys as badly. This is Haidt's speculation why. Boys don't use social media as much. They spend far more time than girls playing video games and watching videos on YouTube. Boys are not doing well either, but their problems are different from those of girls. Boys are failing to develop into socially competent and ambitious men, although they do not suffer from increases in anxiety, although they do suffer in increases in anxiety, depression, and suicide. Next slide. To summarize his recommendations, it's this. No cell phones or social media before high school. That is, before puberty has begun and is completed. There's something about the changing teenage mind, the prefrontal cortex, something's going on there. Get it away from them. Keep this away, keep this stuff away from their developing minds. He says action must be taken by an entire community. If half the kids are on social media and the other half are not, I'm sure as parents, the parents of the one half who are not are going to have a very difficult time keeping all of their kids off. And importantly, kids spend so much time with their computers and social media. This really ought to be replaced, this time, virtual time, these virtual friendships ought to be replaced by time with real friends. Again, this is Jonathan Haidt's recommendations, not me. Next slide, please. I'm going to add I have two slides that are my own personal observations and recommendations about how I see dangers on the platform, on these platforms. One is that there are predatory people on these platforms, both users seeking to contact children, also creators often seeking, I believe, to inculcate them in a certain way of life or worldview. And there's another element to that. So we know that. We know that there are bad people posting and doing bad things on these platforms. I would add that there's an ideological disposition of the people who work at these companies who are not as disturbed by this type of what I believe is predatory behavior as we, parents in a Christian community would be. So next slide, please. And again, this is, I feel bashful writing this down, but I won't read it all off. But, that whether you know it or not, even with parental safety modes, these TikTok, I can say, is full of what I believe is really terrible, unhealthy content. And there's nobody at these companies who are going to stop your children from watching this content. Next slide. To wrap up, these are an article that I recommend, easy reading. Jonathan Haidt's book is coming out, a book specifically on this topic coming out next week, and an interview recently at the bottom on the Joe Rogan podcast of all places. It's 2 hours and he's a very kind man and a very listenable podcast, and it's not vulgar like some Joe Rogan podcasts are. So that's everything I have to say. I thank you for your time and letting me share some of my thoughts.
Awesome. And thank you to Kyle. We wanted to go and share a little bit about the student sessions that we had. We broke up into 4th and 5th grade. And then we also had our middle schoolers do a different lesson with their teachers. So 4th and 5th grade, they had a focus on mental health. Rather than watching the abridged version, we had them watch a smaller clip. It's about 3.5 minutes with a number of interviews from the creators of the social medias and the different platforms that they're on. We did discussions where their time was spent. We did check-ins on digital habits. They talked amongst themselves in their classes. We talked about the effects that screen time can have on them, as well as some of the legality around it, such as being 13 years old in order to legally make an account. And we have gotten a lot of different feedback and found out different things about our 4th and 5th graders being on accounts that they should not be on. With our middle schoolers, we watched an abridged version of The Social Dilemma. It was about 45 minutes. We broke it up and had different discussions throughout the film so that the students could process it and discuss, share anything that really resonated with them or that bothered them. So we focused on mental health, fake news, and the algorithms behind everything. We did a self-reflection where they were able to write down the different platforms they're on, where they actively are, the advertisings that they get regularly on these platforms. And then we also did a digital habit check-in with them. So next we wanted to go over some of the new school initiatives that we've been doing this school year. So to help with time management, to help with distractions, we have implemented a new classroom management system, as well as a stronger content filter. I would not be surprised if some of you as parents have heard about this from some of your children. I know that we have heard great feedback from them. It's not necessarily always that they're thrilled with it. We have combated a lot of students going on and playing games during the school day, accessing social media during the school day, trying to stream music, trying to stream videos. So we have a lot of things that are blocked, and then we will get notifications. We can see where they've been trying to go, and then block things or allow things as needed. So we also have a digital wellness check that goes with the students on anything that they do within their school account. If they are looking up something that might be concerning, we get a notification, and we will go and have conversations with the students. We've done this a number of times already, whether it be something they're searching online, emails that they're sending, or something that they're chatting about. So that is a big thing that we've been working on with the school. This is not just with the school day, but this follows their school account, which has opened up a whole new conversation with our children, where we will continue for the rest of the school year and probably into next, where the appropriateness of what they do on their school account versus what they do on their personal account. So we have a lot has come to light in terms of the amount of children who have created Instagram accounts with their school account, Discord accounts, Spotify accounts, all things that we have now become aware of that not only violates our policy at the school for their account usage, but also violates the terms and conditions of all these accounts themselves. Just a reminder that all of these accounts to comply with the COPPA law, which is the Child Online Protective Privacy Act, all children have to be at least 13 years of age in order to create an account. Even with parent permission, they are not legally allowed to create an account prior to the age of 13. And as Kyle mentioned, there is a lot of stuff on these platforms. There is no regulation on these. A lot of these tech companies have been going into court. You might have seen some of the things going on. There is no regulation for our children. There's no one watching out for our children on these platforms. So that legal age of 13 is imperative to stick to just because of the developmental appropriateness. We don't want our children seeing things that they can't unsee. Moving on, we've also implemented a program called Turnitin.com. This is a program that high schools and colleges use. So we are preparing our students for what they are going to encounter. We talk about plagiarism and the use of AI to assist in their writing and why we need to safeguard against that. We really push about building up their own writing skills, having that confidence. This is the crucial time when we need to start building those writing skills. If we lean into AI to do that, as some of our students have, we have those conversations that is not going to be helpful for them. So they're here in our care to really learn these skills. And as we implement these programs into our school, it's also to help them understand why we don't use these kind of technologies until we get to a certain age that it would be more appropriate, and then also learn how to best use these technologies. Another initiative that we've created at the school is we are putting more safeguards within our Google system. So children are no longer sharing outside of our domain, and people from outside of Westport Lutheran School cannot share anything with our children. This is a huge safeguard that most schools have. This also goes with email. No emails outside of our school, no emails from outside of our school getting into our students' inbox. This is also, again, for protection for our students, because we have emails that we start using in 4th grade at the school. Otherwise, all children have an email address, but that is so that they can log into their Google account. Kindergarten through 3rd grade does not use their email, so it's disabled. They are still allowed to do everything within the Google Suite. 4th through 8th grade do have emails. They've gone through email etiquette lessons. We've practiced how you address emails, how you are in emails. And then we have also disabled Google Chat and Google Meet. If it's ever needed for an educational reason, we flip that on so that they are able to use it. But otherwise, these are features that they could use on their own personal accounts with parent permission. And that's something that we do stress to our students. You need to make sure that your parents are aware of what you are doing online. So looking forward for some things that the school is trying to implement, we have already sent out something, Principal Leah sent something out about having a cell phone free area within the gym. And we thank you to those parents who have jumped right on board and said, nope, not bringing your phone to the games. It's really revved up more support for our players and more engagement with our students. So this has been fantastic to see. For next year, we're going to be revisiting some policies about cell phones in school. They have become a distraction. Children try to sneak them out of their lockers, keep them around with them during school. They can be texting someone in the exact same classroom as them. So we want to try to mitigate these distractions so that they're fully present for the learning experience. We are going to be very strong moving forward in terms of encouraging parents to not allow children to have social media accounts if their children are under 13, and really knowing what social media accounts your children are on and being mindful of those choices. We'll have some information and some resources for you that we're going to share as well. We have a packet of information to help support you for this. There's also a initiative that's called Wait Until 8th. It's a nonprofit organization, and you'll hear more stuff about that in the coming months and definitely next school year as well. This is less of a school initiative, and it's more something that parents can take on within their own class. And one thing that we as a school have found is it's not just one at a time, but once you get many parents, many students all on the same page, it's a more positive and successful initiative. So Wait Until 8th is a program that is encouraging parents to wait until 8th grade to get their children a smartphone. This doesn't mean you can't get a phone. There's a number of different phones out there, some that look like a smartphone, but really
Olivia,
all they have to do, all they are
can you
able to
please get off the
do
phone and
is
do something productive?
um
I don't
yeah,
know, but that's what your school's talking about right now. And it's exactly what you're doing. I know.
we
Can you
may
help me vacuum?
hang on one second, we might need to
Just the
mute.
bedrooms. Do a good job. Do all the crevices.
Hang on. Oh, you got it? Okay, awesome. I apologize for that. So, but Wait Until 8th is just the initiative. You can get your child a phone. It can have GPS. It can have texting. You can call. You can have a camera. But really, that smartphone component removes social media and constant online internet access. And I think that's something that developmentally is not appropriate for our children to be constantly connected to an online world. Again, knowing that our internet is not safeguarded, is not policed, does not have any regulations to support our children. We also would like to host more parent sessions along this topic, along other topics, helping you to find out and figure out what is going to be best for you and your children moving forward. We understand that the internet, social media, cell phones is a very large topic, and sometimes it could be very challenging within the family dynamic. Going over a couple things that parents are able to do, setting very clear boundaries. This could be the time and place that cell phones are used. You can have cell phone free zones during family time, during meal time, outside of the bedroom, really educating them about online safety. I know back in the day when we were all younger, it was stranger danger. Don't talk to strangers on the street. Don't, like, if someone approaches you, what to do. And I think now with so much stuff going online, it's something that we miss, that they are talking to strangers, and we need to still ingrain in them what to be aware of, what to not share with strangers, to make sure that they are safeguarding themselves, things to keep their eyes open for in case there is predators that they're interacting with. Promoting digital literacy, helping them understand these algorithms, how they're targeted with ads, so that they can make more mindful choices about what content that they're looking at, what they're going to click on. Really encouraging that offline behavior, like board games, talking to their friends, encouraging phone calls over group text messaging. Something that sometimes can be a little bit hard is really modeling that responsible behavior. So if you're saying you need to get off your phones this like an hour, 2 hours before bed, showing that same thing to your children, that you're putting your phone down. If you expect them to not be on their phones during mealtime, or to put do not disturb on while they are doing their homework, you showing that same kind of restraint and talking to them about this. This can be controversial sometimes, but we are huge supporters of using the tech solutions that are out there. All of these companies make different parental controls, phones, routers, every platform, Instagram, Discord, Snapchat, TikTok, they all have some sort of parental control worked in. Now, your children are not going to like this, but this is going to be the best way for you to help support them, and you're able to slowly introduce more components to them as they become older, as they're showing you that they have earned your trust in certain areas, which leads to having those open communications. The fact that you'll be able to talk to them about what they're doing online, showing interest in what they're doing, whether it's playing a video game, whether it's going on Discord, asking them to explain, how does this work? What do you do on here? Who do you interact with? But being genuinely interested in it, And as much as we might not be interested in sitting down with our children and playing a video game with them, doing that one time, it's going to be like, oh, mom or dad is sitting down, they're playing this with me. I get to explain what Fortnite is. You may have no interest in Fortnite after that, but that one initiative to sit down with them opens up that conversation for later, like, oh, how was your game? Who did you play with today? And the whole idea is we want our children to feel comfortable and be honest with us with what's going on with them in their online world. This goes hand in hand with what we just talked about. Parental controls. And in the packet that you're going to get, there is a few different parental controls that we've kind of shared about how to do it on a phone level for both iPhone and Android, as well as how to set some on Discord. We would love to share more information. We'll send out a survey later about if any parents are interested in getting together after school or in the evening over Zoom, diving deeper into parental controls for specific apps, getting to know what these apps are. What is Discord? What is Instagram? What's Snapchat? How are our kids using it? The more that we know about the apps that they're using, the easier it is to have a conversation with them. And then that ties into what they're doing online. If you are interested in waiting to give your child a smartphone until 8th grade, there's the initiative Wait Until 8th that we can share about. There's also alternative phones. I'm very happy to share all these alternative phones. I help my friends get them for their children. Their children, as much as they love me, don't love me for that. But these are ways that you can still give them a phone if you're concerned about being able to get in touch with them. However, it's not giving them all that freedom to go online anytime that they want. And then really encouraging having phone-free zones in your house, phone-free times, whether it's cutting it off in the evening. All phones should be outside of the bedroom when you go to sleep. No child under the age of 18 should have their cell phone in their room at nighttime. That's just going to keep them up much longer. And having those set into place, also modeling that same behavior yourself will be a wonderful tool for your children. So we are going to, Principal Lee just dropped that in the chat. So there is a digital packet in there. We've gone over some parental controls. We delved into Discord. Discord is a really big app with our students, both male and female, all the way down to 4th grade, as we have found out. And again, you need to legally be 13 years of age to have an account. So helping you to understand Discord so that you can have conversations with your children, so that you yourself can know what they are doing. And within that packet, there is also a page on how to start conversations with your children, how to start creating family rules. And so there's really something where you can start looking over, it goes over the nuances of each section you might want to consider making rules in. Couple ideas on there, and then there's a blank worksheet that you can also work things out. And again, if any of these are of interest to have a small group session with parents, we are very happy to facilitate that and lead these areas to support you. We understand that trying to make these changes it's a big initiative. And also we want to encourage you that just because your child may have a smartphone now in whatever grade that they're in, it is not too late to take that smartphone and switch it out for a different phone. And we are here to help give you ideas on how to have that conversation and how to help facilitate all of this. So next, what we would like to do is we would like to shift you all into breakout groups for just a little bit so that you can talk amongst yourselves as parents, perhaps share some personal experiences that you may have, maybe a challenge that you're facing, discuss things about the documentary, brainstorm about rules or technology. And our one goal for you would be to come up with one actionable item from tonight that you would like to take home and you would like to implement with your children within your home setting. So Principal Lee, how long do you think that we should have our breakout session for? Okay, so we are going to open up our breakout rooms. We'll come back to our Q&A, but we're going to open up our breakout rooms and we're going to put about 3 people per breakout room. And if you just discuss for about 5 minutes or so, then we will bring you back and then do a whole group discussion. People can share out. Um, okay, that's cool. I'm doing I'm multitasking right now. All right, so in a moment, you will be able to head into your breakout rooms. Good luck. Talk about anything that works along with our topic, and then we'll come back out and share. All right, so you can just click that button to join in the breakout rooms. Thank you so much.
Parents, welcome back from the breakout rooms. Just as we continue here, we thought it would be really great if you could drop some of the things in the chat that you discussed as far as things that can be an actionable item from the film. And we wanted to also, three of us, share a little bit more insights and takeaways that we got from the film as related to our students here. And I just want to share personally too, like I mentioned at the beginning of our session, just alluded to things that I see in my principal seat and in my office. And I want to stress that it's very important, and I know we talk about this a lot, that these things and initiatives that we act on behalf of our children for is done in community. And we really stress, you know, that we often have that UNITY at the end in all caps, because we really truly believe that it takes a village to raise a child, not to borrow that cliche. And we often see as a school that there are things that you are setting up for them at home that really benefit us as a school. And there are things that we also see that might be mismatched as far as alignments in regards to technology. And so that's why we're sharing with you what we as a school are doing, not so that you can just say, well, this is how it is at school, so therefore this is how it should be at home. That idea of open communication with your children is so, so important. And I just want to underscore the reason for which we're doing this all, the why. The investment is in your children. We learned a couple weeks ago when we had a session with Luke Wilkerson, a licensed marriage family therapist. He shared with us that as we think about this idea of self-worth, our kids' identity before the age of 12 is largely shaped by you, the adults in their lives. And so they look to you to understand their significance. They look to you to understand how effective they are. Beyond that age, so 13, 14, what they're really looking towards is that question of who am I? And if that's being negotiated on these platforms of social media, we see the mental health crisis that Kyle alluded to, that the film alluded to. And that's what really strikes me the hardest. And I say that out of just great care for all of your children, that I see a lot of your kids hurting. And it breaks my heart when I have to have these conversations with them about how difficult it is that they see themselves as less than worthy. And a lot of times that is shaped by things that they're being told on these platforms. And sometimes they're being told these things on these platforms by students that they know, friends that they, or parent friends that they know as well. And so I speak to these things wanting, like you, the best for our children. And so again, I'm just underscoring that this is a partnership. And some of what I see in the film, and I'll let Kyle and also Tiffany speak to this, is that this mental health crisis is real, and it's happening here at West Portal Lutheran. And that is why we have implemented things like partnering with Christian Counseling Center, and Lily Zhao, who's our marriage family therapist that's been working with us after school. We're so grateful that she gives us help in understanding our kids better and getting to meet with our kids directly. So I know I rambled a little bit here, but I just wanted to underscore again what importance this is for all of us, that we work together. And it is a lot of work to do these things, and it seems easier just to give into it because it's all around us. But if we take these small steps, they're bite size. And again, drop them in the chat if you have those ideas of what you want to take away, because there's strength in numbers. And as we do it together and practice it together in community, we really can shift a culture. I think it just takes small behavioral shifts for us to see true changes in our culture. So I'm going to stop there. Kyle and Tiffany, other thoughts that you had that as far as standouts from the film?
I'll say one thing that I feel like, oh, I know all about this stuff, but as I was watching the film, something really struck me. It's commonly said that you are the product. The really insightful guy on the documentary, he said that the common truism, oh, if you're not the customer, you are the product. And I thought I understood that, but what does it mean to be the product? And the real definition is it's these platforms, these social media networks, it's not showing a movie or not showing content or advertisements to my eyeball. It's actually the product is my change thinking and behavior. And so it's a little different than just being surveilled or just being monitored or just being shown stuff I don't want to see. It's they are intentionally changing who I am, how I think of myself, how I live my life, the things I think about, the things I say, what I want, what I hope for, what I dream about. And I found that to be, I worry about my daughter and I worry about, our kids and the youth in general. It's nice to worry about others. There's a moment during that film when I really started to worry about myself. And yeah, so that's something that struck me. I don't know how to solve it. I don't know how to solve it.
Kyle, just in your understanding of how that shift in change or behavior works on these platforms, how long does it take? How much exposure? You might not know the answer to this question, but I'm just kind of curious. I mean, I know it takes like what, 30 days to start a habit, but
Yeah.
like how subtle are these things shifting us to the point where we don't even realize it anymore?
I don't know. I really don't know. That we live in a world of targeted advertisement where these companies spend a lot of money and interest both profiling you, your children, who they are, where they live, their age, their race, their sex, who their friends are, what they like to watch, things that people like them also like to watch. It's really it's powerful. It's embarrassing how easily we as human beings are manipulated. So I don't know, but we should not underestimate the effectiveness of this targeted advertising. I might add, it's an open secret that these companies like my employer, they pay money for what are called off-platform signals, meaning tracking data from other parts of the internet. They buy this data so that they can create deeper profiles of your children to again, you know, uh, uh, again, to change their behavior.
And Kyle, sorry, I'm interviewing you.
No, it's okay. I wish I had the answers.
Why should this matter to our children? Myself,
Oh,
Tiffany, and I were talking about how children kind of just shrug off, like some of our kids, even just yesterday, when they saw the film, it didn't matter to them that this was all happening to them on their devices. Why should it, or what can parents do to say to their children or message them that this, are we as teachers, right? That it
yeah,
matters.
yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, like the teenage years are ages of self-actualization, finding an identity, being different than your parents, different than your family. I can think of the thing I did when I was in ninth grade. I started cutting my own hair. I don't know why. I just, that was my way of fighting back. And teenagers all want to fight the man to some degree or another, to kind of quote the cliche. Like these social media networks, these targeted advertising companies, like they want to deprive your children or give them a false illusion of of self-actualization, of identity. um if your students could understand, your children could understand that this is a truly a false and deceptive way for them to make a name for themselves in the world. um that might have some sway for some of your students.
And parents, as you have those conversations with your children, Tiffany mentioned a good point that we are the models to them. So Tiffany, I'm gonna ask you now, now that I've turned into a little bit of a Q&A time, just to ask you as far as what we're seeing, because now that you've been with us for a little bit, for these months of the school year that have gone by, and observed and seen what our kids are doing on their technology, how can parents message to the kids at home then, like not just, okay, you know, from the film, we see these things that are happening behind the screens, but then there are real action steps that we can take to not be passive in it, if that makes sense. So if a parent were to set up a simple plan at home, what would that look like? Let's just put it out for the middle schooler, since that's the most common who might be on a device.
Well, the first thing I want to say is that whatever you decide to do, just staying with it, it can be hard. And I've worked with parents with kids of all ages. And one of my dear friends, she did a presentation with me, and then her child snuck his Chromebook into his room, which is against the rules. And she found it, and she's like, you lose all technology for the weekend. And she had me in the back of her mind. She's like, Tiffany said, this is what we need to do. We have to stand firm. And she made it through the weekend. She said it was the worst weekend their family had ever had, but her son learned from that. And they had conversations, and they had more family time. And he did make her a little bit miserable for those like 2-3 days, but he was a different child after that. So I do want to say it might be a little rough. You might hear things like, you know, everyone else is doing it. All the other parents are better than you because they're letting their children do this. Every child's able to go on Snapchat, every child this. But I think it's really finding with your family, what are the things that you value? What are you worried about? And really having conversations. What do you do on your phone? Why do you, whatever age your child is, why do you need these platforms? What do you want to accomplish? What do you need out of it? They may come up with, well, all my friends are on it, so I need it in order to communicate with them. And then that can be a conversation with, well, okay, well, how are your relationships at school? Like, who do you want to connect with on these platforms? What do you do? What do you chat about? And it might be hard at first, but really trying to put yourself out there and show interest in what they're doing. And in one of the, I think it's the 3rd page of the packet that we sent out, there's a list of social media, gaming, and YouTube tips for parents. And it's about sitting down with them, talking with them, playing a game with them, or just watching and making comments about it. Again, you might not love going in and watching them play Fortnite. It might not be interesting at all, but that makes a connection with them. And then it opens up for more conversations. Really trying to understand like what your children are doing on their devices and what time. And even if it's a simple step to say, hey, you know what? We've realized that it's not great that you're going to be sleeping in your bedroom with your phone. So we understand you use it as an alarm clock. We've purchased this alarm clock for you. The phone is going to stay outside of the room. And we're going to work towards like maybe making some other changes and even teaching them how to self-check. In iPhones, there's something called screen time. It shows you exactly how long you were on each app for. And for our 7th and 8th graders, maybe we want to start teaching them self-regulation. Let's check that. They can set their own reminders like, okay, don't spend more than 45 minutes at a time on Instagram. After 45 minutes, that's a really long time. I would go even less than that. But our children, I'm sure, are going to say, oh no, we need to be on it for this amount of time. So you as the parents determine, okay, what's a good amount of time that I want my child to be on this particular app? And if you want to start cultivating that self-regulation with them before like putting on parental controls, you can talk to them about, you know, we need to make some changes. This is a very advanced technology for your age. And so let's sit down and talk. Let's look at screen time. Let's see where your time's going. And, you know, if they're spending more than an hour and a half on their phone in a school day, we really need to think like if they're going to school and if they're sleeping and doing extracurriculars, do they have 4 extra hours to be on their phone? And if not, what are they doing on their phone instead of? So maybe you notice, oh, You were on your phone in the middle of the day. You should be at school at that point. Or you were on your phone at 1 a.m. You should be asleep at that point. And it opens up conversations to talk to them about healthy habits. And then from there, you can start helping them to make rules for themselves. And if they're not at that age developmentally, I would say our 8th graders, we want to try to encourage this. So I would encourage 8th grade parents to do it, but you're never too young to start. But for our younger parents, I would encourage those parental controls. And the younger you start, your children get used to them. This is all that they know. And if it's required that you talk about everything and they show you what they've been doing on their different accounts, that's all they know. That is the norm. And then talk to the other parents in your class, because if all the parents are doing this, this becomes a norm moving forward, and it just keeps going next year and next year and next year.
So I just want to share an example of what it looked like for me as a child. We didn't have all this technology that we do now, but we all had televisions, except for me. I didn't have a television in my home until I was actually in 6th grade. And that was a conscious choice of my parents. And I thought they were completely backwards for doing that. And Mrs. Ju and I, my sister, we would always beg our parents, like, please, please, we want a TV. And we would, certainly if we were at a friend's house, put ourselves in front of a TV and try to get in all the screen time that we could. And I think looking back at that, so I'm just equating it to just the pushback that you may receive, parents, from your children, because I know it's not going to seem like it might be a battle you might not want to fight, but in the end, there are great rewards for it. And I credit so much of my creativity to the time that I wasn't on screens, and Mrs. Ju and I had to just invent ways of keeping our time and making things more meaningful to us without any devices and screens to look at. So like what Tiffany said just now, I do believe that with those boundaries, the kids, just as these social media apps are forming and changing the behavior of our children, we also can do that too. It may seem less effective because we don't have all the AI that's going on behind the screens, but at the same time, you are their parents. And as a school, we have these safeguards that we are explaining to you, and can explain more in great detail as there's more interest in them. But I also thought, Tiffany, it might be good for you to share some of the things that you've learned about the data you've seen from how our students are spending their time online. If you can think about now that we've set up these filters for a couple of months, what we're seeing as a school as far as what our kids are doing online.
I absolutely can. It's been very eye-opening. We started our content filter back in January. So during the school day, we saw a lot of children trying to play games, streaming Spotify, trying to go to Instagram, Snapchat, Discord, Roblox, all during the school day. But something that has also been very eye-opening is after school, the amount from pretty much like 3:30 on all the way up until some of our students have been up until like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and going on YouTube, trying to go onto social media sites. Some of them are up at 12 o'clock doing homework and just working away. And then we also noticed a number of children get up around like 6:30, 7 o'clock and get online to play Roblox or Minecraft and try to do these things before school. And if you as parents have sanctioned that and said that is an okay time and we give you permission to do that, that is absolutely your choice. But I think the biggest thing that this content filter has been showing us is we're not sure if parents are aware how much their children are doing at home. So just the simple fact that, we've seen children trying to go on YouTube for hours once they're home. And once you're at home, I'm absolutely guessing that middle school students, you have some homework, you might need to study for a test, but I can't imagine that the parents are there going, yes, you can spend 3 hours on YouTube after you get home from school. So I think some of these have been very eye-opening to us, and we're happy to work with parents as well. If you need to figure out timing or if you need to know anything about setting up things at home.
So I wanted to ask as a follow-up to that, Tiffany, because we've gotten a lot of parent buzz about this, and that is on the platform of Discord, which we know our kids are on when they are not in school. And so I just want to clear up any misconceptions, and I'll also bring in Kyle here with his understanding of Discord as well. So what we understand from what we're seeing of how your kids are using Discord is that they probably started a Discord account because they were playing Roblox and wanted a way to communicate with their friends back and forth. But a lot of you parents might not know that Discord is a social media app, and in the, what is it called, Tiffany?
Terms and conditions.
Terms and conditions. It does clearly state that you need to be 13 years old to use this platform. And that you parents, on top of that, are responsible. This is if you're of age, the parents are responsible for the content that is being placed on these platforms for your children. And so I'm sure parents, you've seen in the news different things that have happened recently where parents are liable to the things that their children have put onto Discord. But I just want to clear up a misconception of what Discord is not simply just text messaging. Your kids are not just simply, I know you're hard pressed to let it go because we get questions of, oh, how's my child going to communicate with their friends? It is not simply a messenger, like a text messaging tool. Maybe Kyle, I'll let you explain what exactly it is because I know you know more. So Kyle, I'll let you jump in here.
Yeah, I'll just add a couple. I feel that Discord is one of the more slippery and dangerous of them because principle, like you said, that yeah, it has the illusion perhaps from the outside of being, yeah, just this messenger. You can talk by voice while you're doing your games. Teen boys can kind of talk trash to each other while they're playing their game. Great. That's not exactly, it's much more than that. And the way it's a very open way, it's a very open and fluid way for these different groups of hobbies and kind of subgenres of people can create these boards or these Discord servers and direct message one another. It looks like it's a free for all. Looks, if anyone's old enough, you remember AOL back in the 1990s. It's a real free for all where anyone can talk to anyone practically. And I have heard of anecdotes of this is pretty disturbing, but of sexual predators using Discord because of the ease by which young children can be contacted. And another type of kind of stranger dangers, as Tiffany reminded, as we used to know it, are, people, I would say, people trying to recruit children into, non-traditional, you know, non-traditional ideas of sex and gender and looking for the easily manipulatable young people. How frequent that is, I can't say, but I know for a fact that does and has happened. It's a recruitment platform. And again, because I would just underline that there are bad actors on these platforms, but these bad actors are for reasons that would take us outside of the scope of this call. Bad actors that are given a wink and a nod by those who run these platforms. I think a mistaken notion of civil rights or justice. So Discord, I think, is a really nasty one, in my humble opinion. Again, I apologize if I sound like a wet blanket. I'm kind of a fun guy. I like to think of myself as a fun guy. But I would caution, and I would recommend that you show particular caution about Discord.
And Discord really took off in the pandemic. So our kids searching for ways to connect with each other, which is a good thing inherently in of itself, came onto this platform. in great numbers. I don't have the research to back this up, but this is anecdotally speaking, that this is what happened. I think pre-pandemic, they weren't necessarily on this platform. Maybe Tiffany, you would know just from being at your previous schools too. And then all of a sudden there's this surge after the pandemic, and kids are, using it now just as using it now, right, just as a means what they think of as communication. Tiffany, what are some alternative ways? And if parents are like, how's my child going to connect with their friends? What are some other ways that parents could help their child connect with their friends other than just old school, pick up the phone?
I'll definitely share some alternative ways, alternative means of communication. One thing that I just want to add in about Discord that has actually kind of popped up a lot more in the past year is there's a lot of changes that have been made to Discord. So as Kyle mentioned, they're in essence these servers, which like back in the day for us are more like chat rooms. And they have different components that they can do. You can have like live stream, you can have video sharing, you can have Q&A sessions. But there was a major change within the platform this sometime in 2023, where normally if you were going to put a link in to somewhere on Discord, you saw the link. Now you are able to embed a link in a picture, in a GIF. You can hyperlink something and you don't see what that link is. This has led to a lot more malicious software being downloaded. It's led to scam sites where it just takes you somewhere, and it also leads to a lot of inappropriate viewing. So my neighbor actually was talking to me as I was preparing for this, and her 8th grader is on Discord and was sent a GIF image, which is just like a dancing like teddy bear or something like that. I forgot what the image was. And he clicked on it and it took him to an extremely inappropriate site. And he was very disturbed by it. And my neighbor was like, he can't ever unsee that. And that is what Kyla was saying, there's a lot of kind of bad apples that are on there. Some people who get kicks out of like, who can I kind of mess with? And if they are you can have private servers where it's like, hey, I'm just going to invite all of us to be in there and just talk amongst our friends. So there's absolutely safe ways to use Discord. And then there are more public forums where it's like, oh, I like filters on Snapchat. I'm going to join this group. I'm going to learn about these filters, but then that group is open to the public. Anyone in the world of any age can be in there. In the packet that we sent, there's a Discord at a glance. There's a website, a link in there that is not malicious, I promise. It takes you to a YouTube video by this one mom and ex-teacher who does some great videos. And there she actually breaks down what Discord is, things that you as parents need to be aware of for your children. And then we broke it down a little bit in the pages as well. So you had a visual text base, and then feel free to watch the video. It's just a few minutes long, but she does a fantastic overview of what Discord is. So on to alternatives, things such as, and again, understanding that these social media platforms and a lot of these group chatting platforms, you need to be 13 in order to have them. And this is going with what COPA law states, and COPA law, we've also defined it within the packet so you can understand. This law was made in 1998 to protect children specifically from these large tech industries. And this is something that is being revisited as all these tech industries get into legal issues right now. But thinking about different platforms that they can be on, if they are not 13, or even if they are 13 and you just don't think that they're developmentally ready to handle all of this, really encouraging text messaging. Text messaging, you can still create group chats. You can text one-on-one. Really encouraging FaceTime calls. I understand that, our younger generations are kind of afraid to pick up the phone and talk to people now. Even people my age are like, ooh, yeah, I don't want to call the restaurant and tell them to change the reservation. I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that. But having even that FaceTime call, you are promoting and helping them with their nonverbal communication, making eye contact. You're teaching them a different skill. During the pandemic, we all had to go on Zoom and do different types of virtual calls. So actually encouraging them to have these calls. You can even have multiple people on a FaceTime call. So you can have a group chat amongst your friends. A lot of them wanted to do Google Meets with each other. And when the school shut that down on a school side, some of our children were sad, but that could be something that you could encourage as a parent. Like, okay, great, we are working with you to make this Gmail account, because again, you have to be 13 years of age or older to have a Gmail account. And even if they're 13, make it with them. We encourage you. They can go onto a Google Meet. They can be amongst themselves and chat that way through text message. I understand they don't like to pick up the phone, but really encouraging these ways instead of getting on Discord. Once they get to age 13, it opens up like Facebook Messenger, Instagram, where you could do DMs, which is direct message, and Snapchat. Those are also very popular apps. And again, even if your child is 13, all of these apps have a parental control component, which does not invade privacy, but allows you to see who are they following, who are they chatting with, are they making phone calls? So you just know that they are actual real friends in real life and not strangers who are chatting with your children. Hopefully that covers a few alternative means.
I just want to advocate for an analog way, and that is to write letters to your friends. That's what we did back in my day, and I'm sure parents, for you, that was true as well. You just pass notes to each other. I'd much rather see notes on binder paper passed back to our children than 50 million text messages or a thread on Discord. So I know we're working on our kids' writing as well, and we know just how it's shaped by all the digital ways in which they're communicating with each other with all their abbreviations that I also cannot decipher myself. So thanks, Tiffany, for those alternative ways that we can help our children engage each other without, let's just say Discord, which seems to be the easiest way for many of our children. We also want to say, parents, we said this earlier in our session, that we do want to have continued follow-up sessions, and though we haven't created it yet, we do want to know what specific things might interest you in. Discord is a big one, just because we see it early on. It happens right at fourth grade for our students, and then continues upwards into middle school. Another one that Tiffany mentioned is turnitin.com, which has been a little bit of a pilot for us in the last 2 months or so, just to understand how our kids are or maybe accessing other ways to write their essays. And so I just want to spend a minute on that, because I know we just have a few minutes left. Tiffany, can you explain a little bit more? If parents don't know, or that wasn't around when they were in college, what exactly is Turnitin.com? I know it's plagiarism checker, AI checker, but what exactly is it doing for our students?
Absolutely. So what our teachers do when our students submit their essays or written piece, it gets run through Turnitin.com, which as Sharice had said, it is a plagiarism checker, and it is also an AI detector as well. So if you have copied something off the internet, straight plagiarism, it will pull up that information. It'll give you the website that they pulled it from. Teachers can adjust it to be like after so many words in a row, so it can really search the internet and pull up those resources. The new feature that it has with the dawn of ChatGPT and Grammarly having an AI generating feature in it is the concern that our children are not using their own words and their voice, but they are having this AI create something so that they can get a good grade. And while grades are very important, we really care about that writing process and building up that skill. So the AI generator or the AI detection will actually look through the paper and look for very specific things and pull out what percentage of that paper is AI generated. So I was privileged enough to sit in a number of conversations with students as we went over these papers that had come back with a lot of AI written. And a lot of students had shared about their use of AI. That's actually how we found out that Grammarly has an AI component that they can just put their paper through and it'll rewrite it. So these AI is coming out a lot more. It is now in Google, it's in Microsoft, it's pretty much popping up in every single platform that we use. Our emails even have something where you can AI generate a message. So with the dawn of AI, we feel it's very important to really encourage our children to use their own voice and to learn how to write. So that's where Turnitin.com really appealed to us so that we can see what that percentage of AI generated is, and we can start having these conversations with the kids.
And Kyle, I know you could speak forever on this because the whole AI thing brings up a lot of topics associated with it. But as far as what parents can do, Kyle, so AI, I mean, we probably won't even be able to keep it. I remember hearing about it like a year ago, and then someone say this is going to blow up, and everyone's like educators, be ready, and we're like, we're not ready. I know parents, you're probably not ready either. But what advice would you give to parents about what's happening with AI, and specifically, maybe we just hone it into like your child's education?
Yeah. So the big AI that's making the news these days is the new type of AI is this generative AI that will produce pictures or text. And it's not just grammatical text, but it's long pieces of grammatical text that are coherent. So this is new. Computers could generate small pictures that look kind of wobbly or a sentence or two, but because of compute power, it can generate large portions of text with a lot of complexity in them. That being why this has become so why this tool has become so powerful in the past 12 months or so. I think in terms of education, I don't know if there's exactly a risk for children in terms of like these models are pretty well safeguarded in terms of them producing, they're not going to output pornography or very vulgar jokes or something like that. But it is interesting in terms of like the I have friends in academia and teaching colleges and universities, and it's a huge problem there. And nobody's ready for this. And I think this is just an aside. That's all I have to say, Charisse, is that it's going to, I think, inevitably cause us to return to the handwritten essay. We had those blue books, those ugly little blue books made out of cheap paper in college. There will be a return to that, I believe, is the only answer. And that might be what happens here. I'll be interested to see what you come up with. Because one more thing is that these AI detectors, Turnitin is great for copy pasted material, or plagiarism, but these AI detectors are inadequate. Any type of automatic detector of AI generated content, they're far from foolproof, and I don't think they ever will be. If a student turns in an essay that's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So trust your eyes. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate those thoughts, Kyle. I was an English teacher for 16 years, so it so matters to me, how kids write, and with AI and with a click of a button on Grammarly, being able to make it academic or, basically do what you want it to do, it's very tempting to our kids. And so it brings up other things like how kids are managing their time, because AI becomes more attractive as a option when they feel pressed and anxious and overwhelmed. And those were the conversations that I had just in the last week with our children. So I know we're wrapping up our time here just with sort of bringing up more things to think about, but I do want to just end positively here. So Kyle, if you were just to say anything positive as far as the topics we've covered tonight, a takeaway that our parents could leave with, what is one thing you would encourage them with?
Actually, you should have warned me.
Sorry. Tiffany, you're next.
Yeah. You go first, Tiffany.
All right, I will take it first. So a couple things. One thing I wanted to say is 4th through 8th grade knew that we were having this parent night tonight, and they've gotten to know me as I've been at the school. So many of them are probably ready for you to have a conversation. So go in gently. We've kind of prepped them for that. And the biggest thing, we're here for you. We want to help you to make changes. And I've been in technology education for, God, like 15, 16 years. I've lost count. And I had a side business, and I've come and spoken at West Portal where I specifically help parents to create a tech balance for their children. I walk through like, okay, let's have a conversation. Let's really prepare you to talk to your children. And I am so happy and honored to be at West Portal to help our children, help our faculty, and also help the parents. So we are here for you for your journey through this. And while it might be a little challenging, it's very similar to when at some point you're going to give your child the ability to drive the car. You are not going to just hand over the keys anytime that they want it. You're not going to not ask them where they're going. You're going to set down rules. You're going to inquire, and then you're going to have to earn your trust. Technology, social media, online platforms should be the exact same. It can be just as damaging as handing over those car keys and the children getting into an accident or having something happen. So we want to encourage you to create these safeguards, create some rules, and we are here to support that. We will follow up with more sessions. We will be here for whatever you need.
I thought of a thing that was very insightful, Tiffany. And yeah, I think if I could encourage one point of hope is that this demonstrates to us how precious our life is. Time together in real life in meat space is the old joke, not cyberspace, but the real world. And the even makes me think of the bodily resurrection. This is something that happens in the real world in flesh and blood, people together. And so yeah, it gives me an increased awareness of this, and maybe that can work for all of us. So thank you.
Well said, Kyle, and also Tiffany too. We want to remind you parents that the outcome that we want to see, what we're solving for. I know we talk about that. What are we solving for? We're solving for positive, healthy, and whole children. And so it is something that's done in community. And so we thank you parents for being here tonight, giving an hour and a half of your time. Tells us that you take this seriously and you partner with us in that journey to help our children be positive, healthy, and whole. And this discussion will continue, and we look forward to further conversations with you. Please share this video if you heard it tonight. We'll post it on Parent Square, but please share it or rewatch it. Again, this packet will be sent out along with the slides to you, so you'll have it. And as Tiffany said, go into your kid's bedroom and have that conversation tonight and ask them what they took away from the film. If it seems too scary to ask other things, just ask them what they took away from the film. So thank you again, parents, for being here, and we will see you again soon. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for having me.